I am a titan of industry, and the new intern is in love with my fiancée. The moment my foot connected with the intern's chest, I woke up. It turns out he's the protagonist of this story, and I'm just the pathetic side character. The fiancé who exists only to sign over my fortune and power to the female lead before being discarded. Realizing this, I kicked him again, harder this time. My fiancé rushed forward to shield the intern, shoving me back. "Julian, have you lost your mind?" A slow smile spread across my face. "I'm holding the script now. You think you can still walk all over me? Who gave you the nerve?" I prepared her breakfast myself. The woman was the picture of icy indifference, not even bothering to look up. But I was still satisfied. At least Isabel wasn't rejecting me outright anymore. Behind me, employees whispered amongst themselves, "Mr. Croft is so thoughtful." If that were me, I'd be pinching myself to make sure I wasn't dreaming. Amid the low chatter, a distinct sniffle cut through the noise. Isabel and I looked over at the same time. It was the new intern under her, Leo Miller. He stood behind Isabel, head bowed low. It seemed like wherever Isabel was, he was never more than a few steps away, a permanent shadow. I knew exactly what Leo was thinking. I'd made my displeasure clear multiple times, but Isabel always protected him, so I had no choice but to tolerate his presence. Leo lifted his gaze to Isabel. His eyes were red-rimmed and brimming with unshed tears of grievance. Isabel's brow furrowed instantly. "Leo, take out the trash for me." His eyes swept across the table. In one swift motion, the expensive, insulated container holding the gourmet breakfast I had carefully prepared was unceremoniously dumped into the trash can. A collective gasp went through the office. A flicker of triumph crossed Leo's face before he quickly rearranged it into a look of timid apprehension, hiding behind Isabel. "Ma'am, I don't think." That was from Mr. Croft himself. I said, "Throw it out." My vision tunneled with rage, but she just shot me a look of pure annoyance. "Julian, can you stop with this sensitive new age guy act? You're not impressing anyone but yourself." It's pathetic. She would gaze tenderly at a cheap bagel he bought from a street cart. But a gourmet meal in a trash can? She couldn't care less. I started to step forward, but she shoved me back with surprising force. "Are we done here? Let me make something clear, Julian. If it weren't for our parents arranging this merger, I would never, in a million years, associate with someone like you. You think you can do whatever you want just because you have money. I'm not as shallow as you, Julian Croft, and you can forget about ever getting a single ounce of affection from me." Her words, sharp and loud, stunned the surrounding employees into silence. I stood frozen in the middle of the lobby, a crushing sensation gripping my heart as my entire body began to tremble. Isabel was just the illegitimate daughter of the Vance family, yet she leveraged my love for her to act without any restraint. Did I really deserve this? The whispers started up again. "Ms. Vance is going too far. You can't just humiliate the CEO in public like that. And that in turn, Leo, is a nobody. What's with the crocodile tears? It's disgusting." Dejected, I was about to turn and leave when a figure slammed directly into me. "Mr. Croft, watch out." I heard my assistant's warning, followed immediately by a cry of pain. When I regained my footing, the bodega coffee in Leo's hand had splashed everywhere, steam rising from the puddle on the floor. Although my assistant had managed to push me mostly out of the way, scalding liquid soaked through my pants, sharp, stinging pain erupting on my leg. I looked down and noticed the coffee cup didn't even have a lid. "Leo, are you blind?" "Sir, are you okay? Should we go to the emergency room? You could be burned." Leo's eyes were wide with a feigned panic. As if completely flustered, the greasy half of a bagel he was holding slipped from his fingers and landed squarely on my expensive, custom-made leather shoes. "I'm so sorry. I just thought you hadn't eaten breakfast, and I had some left over. I was going to bring it to you." He played the innocent victim perfectly. "Do I know you? You want me to eat your leftovers? Get lost." Ms. Vance has stomach problems because she always skips breakfast. I have to remind her to take her medication every day. "I was just worried about you. Do you have to be like that?" He bit his lip, eyes glistening with tears, the very picture of wounded innocence. The onlookers started to murmur, their sympathy shifting. What an idiot. How do you run into someone on a path this wide? Did he leave his brain at home this morning? Leo stood there, head down, shoulders shaking with sobs. I watched the scene unfold, my expression cold, a storm of fury building inside me, my hands clenched into fists. At that moment, only one thought dominated my mind. The next second, I sent him flying with a vicious kick. And in that same instant, the plot of a story flooded my mind, overwhelming my memories. It turned out I was living in a novel, and I was nothing more than the villainous side character. My fiancée, Isabel Vance, the illegitimate daughter kicked out by her own family, was the female protagonist, and he in turn, Leo Miller, was the male protagonist. It wasn't just me. In the future, my entire family, the Crofts, would become nothing but obstacles on their path to true love. Isabel despised me while simultaneously using my power and status for her own gain. Leo, sharing her humble origins, felt an almost instinctual hatred for the rich, and the two of them fell in love at first sight. Even though I was innocent, even though I had done nothing wrong, Isabel would still loathe and resent me. She hated anyone whose life was brighter or more glamorous than hers. The story unfolded with Isabel using her position as my fiancé to steal corporate secrets from my family's company, selling them to our rivals. She transformed herself from a scorned, illegitimate daughter into the wealthiest woman in the city. After her success, she and Leo worked together to systematically destroy my family. My parents and sister were killed, leaving me alone. Leo made a point of telling Isabel, to make a man truly despair, you must first give him hope. Why should he have everything from birth that we have to fight our whole lives for? We have to torture him. He deceived me, telling me my parents weren't dead, just seriously injured and recovering in a hospital. Then, on my birthday, he took me to a remote hillside and showed me their unmarked graves. As I stood there, broken and empty, he pushed me from the cliff's edge. I died a miserable death in the wilderness. And who could have guessed how it all started? When Leo failed his interview and was crying in the lobby, I was the one who saw him, felt a moment of pity, and gave him a chance. In the end, this pair of snakes would take everything from me, casting me into the abyss. I really hit the jackpot. The two most disgusting pieces of trash on the planet. And I managed to find them both. My focus returned to the present, to Leo, who was now whimpering on the floor. Mr. Croft, I'm sorry, I was really just trying to help. Thinking about the future, my eyes narrowed. I strode forward and kicked him again hard. Ack! Leo howled in pain. I let out a cold, defiant laugh. I am the head of the Croft family, one of the most powerful dynasties in New York. And these two nobodies thought they could bring me down? He scrambled backward, crying, he's attacking an employee. The CEO is beating me up. Help. No one moved. My temperament had always been mild, but today I had been pushed too far. There was no way I was letting him off the hook. I took 2 more steps and landed a few more kicks. He tried to dodge at first, but then he started crying out in theatrical sobs. Just as I expected, a shout came from behind me. Julian, what the hell are you doing? Isabel burst through the crowd of onlookers. She immediately pulled Leo to his feet and got in my face, pointing a finger at my nose. You're going after an intern now. What kind of man are you? Go home, right now. I don't want to see your face for another second. And who are you to give me orders? My sudden change in attitude seemed to catch her off guard, a blow to her ego. Leo, still trembling, whimpered in her arms about how much it hurt. Isabel's anger flared, and she shoved me with all her might. She probably meant to knock me over, but she was a weak woman. I only stumbled a few steps before steadying myself. That's enough. Stop embarrassing yourself, she screamed. Before, a harsh command like that from her would have sent me scurrying away in shame. But now I was awake. Security. I waved my hand, and 5 burly security guards immediately surrounded us. Isabel's bravado faltered. She instinctively took a step back. Julian, stop this, okay? Look, if you make another breakfast, I'll eat it. Just stop. I burst out laughing. You really think I'm joking? Her face hardened. She couldn't believe I was ignoring her. Turning, she tried to lead Leo away. I don't have time for this today. I have work to do. Let's go, Leo. Stop. My voice was sharp, my words dripping with contempt. What work could you possibly do? What are you even capable of? You're just an illegitimate daughter living off someone else's money. Her entire body trembled with rage. The term illegitimate daughter had always been her trigger. Anyone who dared mention it would face her wrath, which she usually directed at me. But now I had said it right in front of everyone. Is this because I didn't eat your breakfast? Fine, next time I'll eat yours and Leo's. Julian, I'm warning you, don't push it. Seeing her infuriated face, I calmly unclasped my watch and set it aside. I walked toward her and kicked her in the stomach. With a dull thud, she crumpled to the ground, her face contorted in pain. The crowd gasped. Leo looked like his heart was breaking, tears welling up, but he didn't dare step in front of her. Security immediately hauled her back to her feet. I stepped up, and my right hand swung back. A sharp crack echoed through the lobby as her right cheek instantly swelled and turned red. That slap was for being an ungrateful freeloader. If you're going to be a dog, you better learn your place. Isabel had never endured such humiliation. She grabbed onto Leo. What did you do to set him off? Leo was sobbing. Ma'am, I was just worried he had stomach problems and wanted to give him my breakfast. I didn't mean to spill the coffee. It was an accident. Isabel hugged him tightly, her brow furrowed. Julian, you really are a bully, aren't you? He was just trying to be nice. Do you have to be so petty and make such a scene? It was a small thing, sure, but my expensive suit and shoes were ruined by that cheap coffee, and both my assistant and I got burned. You're loaded. Who cares about one suit? Can you stop pretending? These pathetic attempts to get my attention are just sad. I laughed out loud. I may be rich, but I'm not an idiot. Since you're so eager to defend him, why don't you pay for the damages? Isabel didn't hesitate. Fine, I'll pay. Just stop bullying Leo. You're disgusting. Don't ever try to get my attention like this again. She turned to leave with Leo, but the guards blocked their path. Isabel, you're fired. Your salary is $1,500 a month. You've been late or left early 21 times, so your final paycheck is $0. The total damages amount to $1 million. Would that be cash or card? 5. Isabel froze. $1 million? She didn't have anything close to that. She'd been working in my company for less than 6 months, living a life of luxury, all paid for with a supplementary card from my bank account. She had no idea what her actual salary was. On the day she was fired, she finally learned she was making just $1,500 a month. What are you waiting for? Don't tell me the great Ms. Vance can't cover the bill after playing the hero. I taunted her, making no effort to hide my contempt. Isabel's face was a rigid mask. I don't have that much right now, but I'll pay you back. The people around us started to laugh. Ms. Vance is always decked out in designer bags and eating at the best restaurants. Turns out it was all the CEO's money. Her salary isn't even a fraction of mine. Leo's face was ashen. $1 million was an astronomical sum for him, too. He tugged on Isabel's sleeve and whispered, Ma'am, it's Sakai, I'm fine. Just apologize. Don't fight with him. Isabel's expression softened. Given a way out, she took it. Fine. Since Leo has forgiven you, I won't pursue this either. Stop being so childish. Let's go, Leo. She turned to leave again. Did I say? You could go. They both froze. I casually grabbed a bottle of water from a nearby table and took a large swig. I spat it all in Isabel's face. Then I asked with mock concern, Are you awake now? Isabel was completely stunned. The title of manager was just a courtesy I'd given her. In reality, with a high school dropout's education, all she did was sit in her office and play on her phone. Now that I'd kicked her out, she was essentially useless. If she went back to the Vance family, she'd be trampled on again, endlessly humiliated by her stepmother and stepsister. At this thought, her fists clenched and her eyes turned red. Julian, that's enough. All you want is an apology, right? Fine, I'm sorry. Now, can I go back to my office? As she turned, the guards grabbed her and forced her to the ground. From now on, Isabel Vance and dogs are not allowed inside, I announced, looking down at her as she knelt on the floor like an animal. Her former colleagues began to laugh. Her brow tightened, her patience clearly at its breaking point. Julian, what more do you want from me? I already apologized. It was the first time in a long time she had said anything that even remotely sounded like submission. Superficially apologetic, but with a venomous heart hidden beneath. TSK. Isabel, you really are a great actress, I sneered. Beside her, Leo suddenly shouted, Mr. Croft, don't push it. I'll leave with Ms. Vance. He stood there, eyes red, like some kind of righteous hero. I scoffed. Leo, what do you think this is, your local flea market? You want to leave? Fine. Settle your tab. What tab? Leo doesn't owe you anything. Isabel jumped to his defense, furious. Leo's face went white. Since Isabel can't pay the $1 million, then you can pay it yourself, Leo. The more I spoke, the paler Leo became, nearly collapsing. Seeing that things weren't going his way, he decided to throw a tantrum. That's slander. You can just wipe it clean. I'm going to sue you for fraud. Ms. Vance, let's go. Don't listen to him. I pulled out my phone, calmly dialed 3 numbers, and put it on speaker. A clear voice came through. 911, what's your emergency? Hello, I'm at Croft Tower. Someone is causing a disturbance and trying to leave without paying for damages. I'd like to report it. The last trace of color drained from Leo's face. 6 when the police arrived, Leo finally understood I wasn't bluffing. He stammered through his explanation. I video called my assistant, who was at the hospital with his leg bandaged up. My butler quickly arrived with the receipts for my ruined suit and shoes. After assessing the situation, one of the officers spoke to Leo grimly. The amount of damages is substantial. If you don't pay, you will be prosecuted. Terrified of going to jail, Leo offered a stream of promises and apologies to the police. Only then did they leave. His colleagues had all witnessed his humiliating breakdown. As the crowd dispersed, Leo's tears began to flow freely. Mr. Croft, you know what my salary is. You know I could work for you my entire life and never pay this back. To you, this is pocket change. Why do you have to bully me like this? A masterclass in guilt tripping. My jaw practically hit the floor. What? Did my money fall from the sky? Being poor means you don't have to take responsibility. Leo was speechless. Isabel, her heart aching for him, reverted to her usual tactic, anger. Julian, how far are you going to take this? Enough is enough. If you did all this just to get my attention, it's not interesting. Ugh. Her words made me physically nauseous, and her face darkened at my reaction. Fine, I'll cover the bill for him. Stop torturing him. The triumphant look on her face was laughable. She thought this was just a temper tantrum, that if she just waited for the right moment to sweet-talk me, everything would be forgiven. But I simply held out my hand. Pay up. Isabel was stunned. She had no money. Then she seemed to remember our engagement. The debt would eventually be forgotten. This way, she could play the hero without spending a dime. A win-win. Her expression grew even more smug. All right, you know how I am. She never expected me to produce a pen and paper. No cash, sign an IO. She frowned. Is that really necessary? Julian, what is this all about? You just want me to pay more attention to you, don't you? I ignored her and had security force them both to sign. Isabel is co-signing for you. If she doesn't pay, you have to. Hearing this, Leo almost fainted. But there are still good people in this world. A guard kicked him, and he yelped, jumping to his feet. The IOU is signed. Leo, are you satisfied now? Isabel, looking utterly annoyed, tried to walk into the office. But I blocked her. Get them out of here. As far away as possible. They're both fired. Security tossed Isabel and Leo out of the building like bags of trash. Even then, Isabel had the audacity to try and take my car to give Leo a joyride. She pulled out the key fob and unlocked my Maybach. Leo got in, his face alight with excitement. Ma'am, I've never been in a car this luxurious. I'm a little nervous. I'll protect you. It's okay. Standing on a second-floor balcony, I watched their intimate display and casually upended my cup of coffee. It rained down directly onto Leo. He screamed in pain. Ah, that's hot. Before Isabel could even look up, I had already turned and walked away. Even from a distance, I could still hear her enraged screams. Julian, you're insane. Fine, you got my attention. Are you happy now? Huh. Trying to steal my car to take your intern toy for a spin. Isabel, do you really take me for a fool? By the time they reached the busiest intersection in the city, people on both sides of the street were staring at them with envy. Leo and Isabel had never experienced such a moment of glory. Even when Isabel used my car, she always had a driver. She never had the chance to show off from the driver's seat. Look at that couple. They're so perfect together and in a luxury car. I wish I were rich. The praises from the street reached their ears. Leo's face flushed with excitement. Watching the in-car camera feed, A small smile played on my lips. A moment later, sirens began to wail. "Ma'am, sir, please cooperate with our investigation. We've had a report of a stolen vehicle." Isabel couldn't believe I would do this. She whispered, "You must be mistaken. I know the owner. I'm his girlfriend." Wow, his girlfriend? Using her boyfriend's luxury car to chauffeur her boy toy. What a class act. The crowd's murmuring grew louder. Isabel was mortified. Leo was even more ashamed. Just moments before, he had been looking down on the people outside his window. Now, they seized the opportunity to mock him relentlessly. Ha ha ha. Turns out he's just a car thief. No wonder he was so arrogant. What a joke. They hadn't gotten far before they were taken into custody. Isabel had to use every penny she had to get them released. A disheveled and furious Leo stormed into the hospital. His critically ill mother was there. Fourth floor, SVP suite. His mother was currently receiving treatment funded by the Croft family. The moment Leo arrived, he began arrogantly ordering the nurses around. "Get my mother scheduled for the best treatment plan this month. If there's any delay, I'll have Julian Croft fire every last one of you." The nurses complied, terrified of losing their jobs. Leo's mother lay in her bed, preening, praising him lavishly. "That's my son. Julian Croft is an idiot. Just get Isabel to marry you sooner. I'm tired of pretending to be grateful to the Crofts. Their condescending attitude makes me sick." Leo's face was grim. "Who does Julian think he is? Sooner or later, I'll have him on his knees, begging us for mercy. Just you watch, Mom. Son, you're destined for great things." The doctors and nurses on this floor all feared him, because this entire wing was underwritten by the Croft name. In this city, no one could afford to cross the Croft family. Now that Leo was fired, he couldn't go to the office anymore. He assumed I was just having a spat with Isabel and wouldn't dare cut off his mother's medical funding. So he continued to throw his weight around the hospital. He demanded the finest meals, the most comfortable bedding, only the absolute best for him. Until I receive a call from the assistant of another patient on the fourth floor. "Julian, we don't mean to be nosy, but we were wondering who that person is in your family's suite. A number of things have gone missing on the floor recently, and we don't usually have strangers around. Do you think you could look into it?" Watching the security footage, I smiled. "Please, don't worry. I'll handle this. I'm on my way." Afterward, I explained the situation to my parents and sister. They all agreed to go with me to get to the bottom of it. "This is outrageous. What has Leo been doing in our name? This family is absolutely vile. Son, you have to call the police. The Croft family will not take the fall for them." Of course. I made the call. My sister, however, panicked. She couldn't believe Leo would do such a thing and try to defend him. His mother is very sick. Besides, we're helping them. They must be grateful. Why would they steal anything? Let's go and see for ourselves. I called the hospital and terminated all funding for Leo's mother. After hanging up, I looked back at the security monitor. A nurse quickly went to evict them. At that moment, Leo was still berating the orderlies. The nurse, looking thrilled, pulled the 4 out of his mother's arm and packed up her medications. "Mr. Miller, you're no longer authorized to stay here. Please vacate the premises immediately. Take away all her things. Cancel the rest of her treatments. The Croft family is no longer funding her care. He is not allowed on this floor." Hearing this, the orderly's eyes lit up. "Yes, ma'am." Leo's mother was bewildered. Forgetting she was a patient, she leaped out of bed and grabbed an orderly, starting to scream. "What are you doing? My medication was just imported. Who are you to take it away? I'll have Julian Croft fire all of you, you bitch." Leo also slapped the nurse across the face. "You worthless tramp. Did I say you could touch her things? Who the hell do you think you are? Well. You got quite a temper." I walked in, flanked by my parents. Leo never expected me to show up here. The color drained from his face. The nurse next to him covered her cheek and looked down. Leo's demeanor changed in a flash. "Mr. Croft, thank you so much for your help. It's only because of you that my mother can receive such excellent care. You are our family's greatest benefactor." He clutched my sleeve, tears streaming down his face, trying to guilt me into continuing the funding. My mother spoke first. "Mrs. Miller, while the Croft family is wealthy, we don't fund ingrates. Your son openly seduced my son's fiancée while at work, and we're still supposed to pay for your treatment. I don't know if you're sick in the head, or if you think we are. After my mother finished, my father simply had our bodyguard start removing her belongings. Leo's mother panicked. Leo glared at me, his eyes full of resentment. Julian, your family is so rich. What's a little money to you? Are the lives of poor people not worth anything? Is this some kind of game to you? It's just money, right? You look down on me, but I'll borrow money from Ms. Vance to pay you back. I, Leo Miller, don't owe anyone anything. He theatrically pulled out his phone, trying to threaten me. He knew how much I cared about Isabel. Even when we fought, I was terrified of displeasing her. But this time I agreed. Fine. The total bill comes to $2 million. The Croft family never said this was a donation. It was merely an advance. Leo, if you can't pay it back, you'll go to prison. Good luck. Leo collapsed to the floor, staring at me with venomous, disbelieving eyes. I kindly dialed the number for him and held the phone to his ear. Isabel's voice came through. What is it, Julian? Have you come to your senses and decided to apologize? Leo wants to borrow some money from you. With that, I placed the phone by Leo's ear. His face went chalk white. Now Isabel took a deep breath. Leo, what's wrong? Leo immediately started sobbing. Mr. Croft kicked us out. My mother's treatment isn't finished, and now he says I have to pay him back for all the medical bills. My mother heard his tone and let out a cold, derisive laugh. Even my sister, Chloe, looked stunned. In her eyes, he was a hero. How could he speak like that? Isabel, ever the protector, said, "Put Julian on the phone. I'll talk to him." I took the phone and put it on speaker. Isabel's voice was arrogant and demanding. Julian, that's enough. What did Leo do wrong? This constant drama is exhausting. Get his mother settled back in her room, and we'll talk about this when I'm back at the office. Isabel, whether you come to the office or not has nothing to do with me. What's the matter? You want to pay his debt? There was a long silence on the other end before Isabel spoke. Do I have any money? Are you playing dumb? You're the one acting, pretending you can afford to be a hero when you're broke. I hung up immediately. Leo's face was ashen. He pursed his lips, then dropped to his knees in front of my mother. Mrs. Croft, my mother's illness can't wait. I don't have a means. I'm begging you, please, just let my mother finish her treatment before you kick us out. I know this amount of money is nothing to you. My sister Chloe, seeing him in such a state, was overcome with pity and started to plead for him. Mom, Leo's family is in a terrible situation. My brother fired him. They can't even cover their daily expenses, let alone medical bills. Please don't be so cruel. Smack. My father actually slapped my sister across the face. In my entire life, I had never seen my father raise a hand to either of us. This was the first time. Chloe was dumbfounded. Leo's expression grew even uglier. Chloe, did you spare a single thought for your brother when you said that? You're his sister, yet you defend an outsider. I'm so disappointed in you. Johnson, freeze all of Chloe's accounts. My father cut her off completely. Now my sister had no money at all. I felt a sense of relief. So, Leo, you wanted my sister to be your sugar mama, to foot the bill for you, in your dreams. Leo watched as his mother's belongings were thrown into the hallway. He grew more and more desperate, slumping to the floor in a tearful heap. Even then, his mother continued to harass my parents, blocking their path. Just because your family has money and power, you think you can toy with poor people like us. You've only lost the cost of a single meal, but my son is about to lose his mother. Passers-by started to stare. My mother's face was tight with anger, her brows furrowed. Her innate class left her ill-equipped to deal with such a shrew. I suddenly remembered how, in the original story, after climbing over our ruined family, Leo became a titan of industry. His mother had arrogantly used a few $100s to humiliate my parents. I wasn't going to let her off so easily. My eyes narrowed. Mom, they can't leave just yet. The nurses on this floor said that a lot of valuables have gone missing from the other patients' rooms lately. The mother's face went pale. Leo started to panic. Mom, let's just go. We'll find a way to solve this. You two stop right there. The nurses and orderlies they had bullied now surrounded them. They glared at the pair, their voices dripping with sarcasm. Well, a thief, and an arrogant one at that. I thought you were the wife of some chairman of the board. Leo was the first to break. Julian, you have no right to detain us. We're not criminals. I ignored him and had our bodyguards search their bags. It didn't matter how much of a scene his mother made. The bodyguards snatched her 2 large bags. They upended them, and a cascade of items clattered onto the polished floor. The onlookers were stunned into silence. The bags were filled with expensive items, jade pendants, heirloom jewels, massive diamond rings. A nurse who had been insulted by the mother gasped. "That's the emerald pendant Mrs. Sheridan in the next room has been looking for. And that's my client's pigeon blood ruby ring. It's been missing for weeks, so you're the thief." Soon, caregivers from other rooms came out, drawn by the commotion, and began identifying their missing belongings. The residents of this floor were all from wealthy and powerful families. When their possessions went missing, their staff were inevitably the first to be questioned. They had all been unjustly blamed and felt deeply wronged. No one had ever suspected another patient. I smirked at Leo. "You're finished. The value of everything your mother stole is in the tens of millions. How many years will she get for that?" "Let me think." I watched his face grow paler and paler. "Probably long enough for her to die in prison." His mind seemed to snap, and his body went limp. Soon enough, the families of the victims jointly called the police. Leo's mother was taken away in handcuffs. All that was left was Leo, sitting in a corner with a few shabby bags. My parents and I got in our car and left. As for Isabel, that disgusting creature, her own happy ending was just around the corner. I watched the security feed on the way. Leo was crouched in a corner of the hospital lobby. People passing by looked at him with curiosity. Whenever someone asked what was wrong, he would launch into a tearful tale. My mother was in the middle of chemotherapy, and the Croft family kicked her out. "They're so rich, this money is just a drop in the bucket for them." My mother didn't mean to take those things. She just thought they were pretty. How can rich people be so heartless? His words shocked the onlookers, but not in the way he intended. Your mother stole from people, and now you're the victim? You've got some nerve. Leo bit his lip, seething, but unbelievably, his pitiful act actually managed to attract a fool. A wealthy young woman, seeing his handsome face, was moved to pity. "How much is the chemo? I'll pay for it." A flicker of hope lit up in Leo's eyes. He had just grabbed her sleeve when Isabel arrived. "Leo, you call me crying? I couldn't understand what you were saying. What happened?" Seeing Isabel, the wealthy woman pursed her lips and gave Leo a look that dripped with meaning. She slapped his hand off her sleeve and brushed it off in disgust. "Oh, look, the illegitimate Vance girl is here. She's practically a Croft. You dare to hit on her man. You deserve everything you get." With that, she turned and walked away without a second glance. The glimmer of hope in Leo's eyes was extinguished. At this point, Isabel was his only hope. After listening to Leo's story, Isabel said coldly, "I'm calling Julian. I'll make him get your mom out. This is clearly his fault." She dialed, but the call didn't go through. She stared at her phone in utter disbelief. "Julian, block my number." Watching the monitor, I let out a cold laugh. "Blocking you? That's nothing. The real surprise is yet to come." I sent her a text. "Vance residence. Family matter. Come home immediately." On the screen, Isabel's expression instantly changed from cloudy to bright. She lifted her chin and told Leo, "Just wait." Julian went to my family's house. He's definitely going there to apologize to me. Once I've calmed him down, I'll get him to release your mom. Leo still looked worried, tugging on her sleeve. "What about the $2 million I owe him?" "Don't worry about it. To him, that's nothing. You won't have to pay it back." At the Vance estate, Isabel's mother, Elaine, and Mrs. Vance, along with her daughter, Sophia, were seated on the sofa. Mr. Vance Sr. was preparing to discuss the division of the family assets. When they saw us arrive, Elaine's face lit up. "Julian, what a surprise. What brings you here at this hour?" We remained silent. Mr. Vance Sr. looked at us and announced, "Isabel will soon be a Croft. In the future, our families will be closely tied. Isabel will receive 60% of his shares." Mrs. Vance's face instantly darkened. "Harrison, she's still an illegitimate daughter. This is completely unfair." Isabel glanced at me, then said smugly, "Mrs. Vance, it doesn't matter if you look down on my mother. Julian loves me, not your daughter." Mrs. Vance was left speechless. My mother, seeing Isabel's triumphant smirk, finally spoke. "We apologize for the intrusion, Mr. Vance. We're here today to call off the engagement." Isabel's face fell. Elaine shrieked, losing all composure. Call it off, are you insane? You are not in a position to speak to me, my mother said, not even deigning to look at her. Mrs. Vance, however, smiled. She stepped forward and apologized. Mrs. Croft, if you wish to end the engagement, we must have done something wrong. I hope you can forgive us. Isabel was the family's illegitimate child, and it was clear her mother had a difficult time in a Vance household. Without me, they would have no leverage over the others. What happened? In-laws? Surely our Isabel hasn't done anything. You can't just change your mind on a whim, Elaine said, her face pale. Her entire position in the Vance family was dependent on her daughter marrying into the Croft family. If we truly wanted nothing to do with her daughter, her dreams of a wealthy life would be over. I cut straight to the point. At the office, Isabel cheated on me with an intern. The two of them now owe me $1 million. Frankly, I'm disgusted. Don't you dare slander my daughter. She would never do such a thing. Elaine was furious. She assumed I was still the lovesick fool who would do anything for Isabel. Ignoring the thunderous expressions on my parents' faces, she began to lecture me. Julian, it's a big world out there. There are always temptations. You can't be so petty. Are you saying that after you're married, Isabel can't speak to other men? It was a normal interaction. You're being too sensitive. Her heart belongs to you. That's all that matters. My mother, who had always been the epitome of grace, had her composure shattered for the second time that day. She slapped Elaine across the face. The sharp edge of her ring cut a line across Elaine's cheek. Who do you think you are? Lecturing my son. Before she could retaliate, a voice cut through the room. Julian, have you had enough? Isabel shot to her feet. And then, Leo slowly descended the grand staircase of the Vance mansion. It seemed Isabel had brought him here. My parents' and sisters' faces changed instantly. Chloe saw it in that split second, the way Isabel and Leo's hands hastily pulled apart as the door opened. The realization finally dawned on her. Leo is a two-timing piece of trash. Brother, I was wrong. I should have believed you all along. Her sincere apology was heard by everyone, including Leo. His face was a mask of grief. At this point, his only hope was to cling to Isabel. My father had lost all patience. He stated flatly, "The Croft family is breaking the engagement. Mrs. Vance, I trust you will inform the public of this matter." This was exactly what Mrs. Vance wanted. Every day Isabel remained, her own daughter's inheritance was in jeopardy. Of course. My apologies for this whole affair, Mr. Croft. You know, our family has more than one daughter. There's Sophia. I cut off her ingratiating sales pitch. I have no plans to marry at this time. Thank you for the offer, Mrs. Vance. Mrs. Vance didn't push the matter and agreed readily. She announced, Butler cut off the living expenses for Isabel and her mother for the next 6 months as punishment. I will explain the situation to my husband. Mr. Vance Sr., seeing his hopes of an alliance with my family dashed, turned and left in a huff. Find a place for Elaine and Isabel to live and get them out of this house. This was it. They were being thrown out of the Vance family. Seeing her life of wealth and privilege about to disappear, Isabel collapsed onto the sofa. She couldn't believe her carefully laid plans had been dismantled before they even began. She looked at me, her eyes filled with hatred. Julian, you've gone too far. Was this all some game to you, dragging our parents into this just to call off the engagement? You did all this to force my hand, didn't you? Fine. I agreed to get married by the end of the year. Now stop this nonsense. I'm tired. Beside her, Elaine grabbed onto this last shred of hope like a drowning woman. What do you mean, call it off? The kids are just joking. Isabel is already a part of the Croft family. Calling it off will ruin their reputations. In-laws, I'll pretend I never heard this. Take the children home. Let's not be a laughingstock. Isabel was actually trying to force a marriage. My parents' expressions grew even darker. I felt as if I just heard the world's biggest joke. I looked at the trembling Leo standing nearby and kindly pointed him out. That's your son-in-law right there, Elaine. Don't get them mixed up. Oh, and one more thing. They owe me $1 million. Let's see which of you is going to pay it. I produced the IO. The eldest daughter, Sophia, snatched it and scanned it. She shot Isabel a mocking up-and-down glance, then handed the paper back to me. My apologies, Mr. Croft, but this debt has nothing to do with the Vance family. Isabel's allowance has already been cut off. For anything else, you'll have to pursue legal action. Leo's lips turned white, and he slowly backed away. Isabel couldn't believe it. I had actually broken our engagement. The reality of her situation began to sink in, and fear took over. She started begging me, even getting on her knees. Julian, I was wrong. Please don't leave me. I know I neglected you before. I was just playing around with Leo. It wasn't serious. My heart belongs only to you. I kicked her away, then bent down and lifted her chin. I could see the deep-seated hatred in her eyes. Isabel, you despise us, don't you? Because people like Sophia and me, we represent a world that someone like you, who clawed her way out of the mud, can only ever dream of. Her entire body trembled. Seeing her reaction, I twisted the knife. I bet you and Leo had it all planned out, didn't you? How you would ruin my family, build your own empire, and leave us all for dead. What a shame. Your brilliant plan was over before it even began, the moment I threw you out of my company. A look of pure terror crossed Isabel's face. How could I possibly know the secrets she held deep in her heart? I leaned in closer and whispered in her ear. It was all Leo? He told me everything. You should blame him for being so stupid. Otherwise, you'd still be the future Mrs. Croft. Such a pity. All that wealth and glory, and none of it is yours anymore. After hearing my words, a deep, simmering hatred began to boil in Isabel's eyes. She lost all control, lunging at Leo, grabbing his hair, kicking and punching him. Leo, you bastard. Do you know what you've done? You've ruined me. Leo, of course, was in no better shape. He was drowning in debt. It was obvious Isabel couldn't fix this. Realizing he had no way out, Leo dropped his cowardly facade and slapped Isabel across the face. If I had known you were this useless, I never would have put my hope in you. You're a worthless, broke poser. The two of them began to brawl, clawing at each other, their fight spilling out into the street. They stumbled toward the middle of the road. Let go of me, you bitch. You should be the one to pay that money. If it wasn't for you, I never would have bumped into Julian. Shut up, you dog. If it wasn't for you, I'd still be the future Mrs. Croft. You ruined my life. Why don't you just die? The two of them, a dog-eat-dog spectacle in the middle of the street. I clapped my hands in applause. Just then, the light turned red. A symphony of car horns blared down the street. Isabel, desperate to escape, ran into the crosswalk and straight into the path of a large truck with a horrified scream. Leo's hand was tangled in her hair. He had no chance to get away. A final, terrible scream, and they were both crushed beneath the wheels, killed instantly. The two protagonists of this story, who had fought so hard for their moment in the sun, were finally and completely gone. They could no longer steal anyone else's life. But I hadn't forgotten her. Elaine, your daughter owed me a debt. I suppose you'll have to be the one to pay back that $1 million. Elaine, of course, couldn't pay. The cheerful, smiling look on my face as I told her this seemed to be the final straw that broke her mind. I heard the Vancess, not wanting any more trouble, had her thrown out without a second thought. She was often seen late at night, wandering the streets and shouting, "I'm Mrs. Vance. I'm a rich society wife." Within a month, she was committed to a psychiatric hospital. As for the man's mother, Leo was dead. This time, it was my turn to deliver the news of her son's death. Remembering Leo's arrogance in the original story, my expression was cold as ice. I knew full well that if I hadn't been in that visitor's room, I would have been the one dying at the bottom of a cliff. I would not spare a single one of these vipers. Ma'am, such a shame about your son. He was trying to run from his debts and got hit by a truck. Died instantly. It was a terrible scene. No one even came to claim the body. TSK, TSK. His mother descended into madness, but she was still in prison. No matter how much she screamed, it was no use. She was quickly subdued by the guards. She would have no outlet for her rage. The wealthy families she had stolen from would never forget her. She would never leave that prison alive. Perhaps in the novel, Isabel and Leo could have used their wicked schemes to get everything they wanted. The author would have called characters like them blessed by fate, always destined for a happy ending. But the moment I woke up, I became the protagonist of my own story. Villain was never my label to wear. Fighting fire with fire was exactly what they deserved. After all, I'm the crown prince of a corporate empire, born with wealth and power. How could I possibly lose? Ha 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 ha.